Dear students, we are studying our chapter, that is the heredity and evolution. In that chapter, from last part up to the last part, we are also studying about the evidences of the evolution. Some evidences we are taken information about the evidences, that are the morphological evidence, then vestigial organs, and the anatomical evidences. Now we will take information in that part, that are the paleontological evidence. We know that, or the theory of evolution also told that the living organisms which are existing now on the earth, that may be plants or that may be animals or any type of living organisms, they are evolved from their ancestors, which are differently. They are the different from their working as well as their structure also. But how can we told that which type of living organisms are exist in past or the millions of years? About that, which type of living organisms are existed in the past or from the millions of years, the secret of that is hidden in the earth. Which is that secret? It is the fossil. First we understand about what is the fossil. The large number of different type of organisms get buried in the earth due to the natural disasters. Which are that natural disasters? That disaster may be a flood, that disaster may be an earthquake, or that disaster may be a volcano or any other natural disasters. Due to that natural disasters, a large number of living organisms get buried in the earth, and because of that, they buried in the earth, the body part does not decompose, and it remains as a remnant or the impressions. They remains in the form of remnants or the impressions, and that remnant and the impressions of such organisms preserved underground. That is preserved underground. These are called as the fossils. What are the fossils? The large number of organisms get buried due to disasters like flood, earthquake, volcanoes, or etc. in a disaster. The remnant and impressions of such organisms remains preserved. Remnants and impressions of such organisms remains preserved underground. These remnants or the impressions which are get preserved in the underground is known as the fossils. Fossils told us the story of that living organisms which are which were existed in millions of years. म्हणजे फॉसिल म्हणजे काय, ज्याला आपण मराठीमध्ये जीवाश्म म्हणू. जीवाश्म म्हणजे काय, तर पृथ्वीवरचे फार मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये लिव्हिंग ऑर्गॅनिझम, मग ते लिव्हिंग ऑर्गॅनिझम प्राणी असो, वनस्पती असो किंवा आणखी कोणते स्वरूपातले असो, जे नैसर्गिक संकट निसर्गात निर्माण होत आहे, ते म्हणजे त्याच्यामध्ये पूर असेल, त्यानंतर त्याच्यामध्ये ज्वालामुखीचा उद्रेक असेल, किंवा त्याच्यामध्ये आणखी भूकंप असेल, याच्यामध्ये हे लिव्हिंग ऑर्गॅनिझम्स जशाला तसे जमिनीमध्ये गाडल्या गेले, आणि जशा तसे जमिनीमध्ये गाडल्या गेल्यामुळे त्यांचं डिकम्पोजिशन, त्यांच्या मृत शरीराचं डिकम्पोजिशन झालं नाही. आणि एवढंच नाही तर त्या मृत शरीराचे अवशेष जशा तसे गाळामध्ये गाडल्या गेले, त्या गाळाचं रूपांतर गाळाच्या खडकामध्ये झालं, आणि त्या खडकांमध्ये त्या मृत अवशेषाचे जशाला तसे इम्प्रेशन म्हणजे साचे किंवा शिक्के, जशाला तसा आकार हा गाळामध्ये तयार झाला. त्या खडकामध्ये तयार झाला. ते मृत अवशेष किंवा त्याचे बनलेले इम्प्रेशन्स म्हणजेच काय तर म्हणजेच फॉसिल्स. And that fossil told us the story of living organisms. How it is possible? How can we get evidence about that living organisms? Which type of that living organisms? What is their functioning, or how many years they are exist on the earth? That maybe that information we will get from the carbon dating. What is the carbon dating? First we discuss about the carbon dating. Carbon dating method. In 1954, Willard Levy is the famous scientist. Willard Levy discovered that carbon dating method. We know that each and every living organism takes a food, and in that food there are different type of nutrients. That may be a protein, that may be a carbohydrate, that may be a fats. In that, the basic molecule is the carbon. Basic molecule is a carbon. And we also know that carbon has the two type of isotopes. One is a carbon 12 and other is a carbon 14. One is a carbon 12 and other is a carbon 20, carbon 14. These are the two type of isotopes of the carbon. And when any living organism takes a food, in that nutrient carbon is a basic molecule, and that carbon has the two type of that atoms. One is the carbon 12. It means that a carbon atom which has a 12 as the atomic mass number, and carbon 14. It means that the atom of a carbon which has the 14 atomic mass number. So these are the two type of isotopes of the carbon which are exist in the on the earth or in the nature, and their proportion is a fix. Their proportion is a fix. The molecule of the carbon 14, the ratio of the proportion is the fix, that is the molecule of the carbon 14 to the molecule of the carbon 12. From that, the carbon 12 is the non-radioactive. Carbon 12 is a non-radioactive and carbon 14 is a radioactive. Carbon 12 is a radioactive. And we know that each and every radioactive atom, there is a process of radioactive decay. There is a process of radioactive decay process. And because of that, as period pass away, the molecule, total number of molecules of that radioactive element or that radioactive atom get decreases. Because due to the radioactive decay, that atom is converted into the another atom. So this type of process is active in the radioactive atom, and carbon 14 is a radioactive atom of the carbon, and carbon 12 is a non-radioactive atom. When any animal does not stop its intake after the death, when death occurs at the time of death of that living organism, at the time of death of the living organism, the ratio of carbon 12 and carbon 14 is in the body of the dead body of that living organism is equal to the ratio of the carbon 12 and carbon 14 which are present in the nature. As after the death, that living organism does not take its food. It means that it does not take the carbon molecules in it, but the carbon molecules which are present in the that dead body, carbon 12 remains constant. Carbon 12 remains constant, but the carbon 14 get decreases due to radioactive decay process. And because of that, the ratio in between the carbon 14 to the carbon 12, the ratio in between the carbon 14 that of the carbon 12 changed. The ratio get changed, and according to that change in the ratio in between the carbon 12 to that of the carbon 14 to that of the carbon 12, we will predict that which is the period of that fossil. म्हणजे जेव्हा एखाद्या सजीवाचा मृत्यू होतो तेव्हा आपल्याला माहिती की सजीव जोपर्यंत जिवंत आहे तोपर्यंत स्वतःला जीवन जगण्यासाठी त्याला अन्न पदार्थाची गरज असते. तो अन्न घेतो. आता अन्न घेतो म्हणजे अन्नामध्ये वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे न्यूट्रिएंट्स असतात. आता मुख्य न्यूट्रिएंट आपल्याला माहिती आहे, जे प्रोटीन आहेत, त्यानंतर फॅट्स आहेत, त्यानंतर कार्बोहायड्रेट्स आहेत, आणि याच्यामध्ये बेसिक मॉलिक्यूल कोणता असेल तर कार्बन आहे. आपल्याला ही माहिती की कार्बनचे निसर्गामध्ये 2 प्रकारचे आयसोटोप्स आहेत. एक आहे कार्बन 12 आणि दुसरा आहे कार्बन 14. फ्रॉम दॅट कार्बन 12 इज अ नॉन रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह ऍटम ऑफ द कार्बन, आणि कार्बन 14 हा रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह ऍटम आहे. आपल्याला एक गोष्ट माहिती आहे, जेव्हा एखाद्या सजीवाचा मृत्यू होतो तेव्हा त्याच्या शरीरामध्ये असणारे कार्बन 14चं कार्बन 12 बरोबरचं गुणोत्तर प्रमाण हे निसर्गामध्ये जेवढं अस्तित्वात आहे तेवढंच असतं. पण सजीवाचा मृत्यू झाल्यानंतर त्याचं अन्नपदार्थ घेणं, निसर्गातले अन्नपदार्थ घेणं थांबतं, आणि त्यावेळेस त्याच्या शरीरातील हे कार्बन 14 आणि कार्बन 12चे जे गुणोत्तर प्रमाण आहे ते बदलतं. बदलायचं कारण म्हणजे काय की कार्बन 12 हा नॉन रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह आहे, म्हणून ते मॉलिक्युल्स म्हणजे ते नंबर ऑफ ऍटम्स कायम राहतात, परंतु कार्बन 14 हा मात्र रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह कार्बन आहे. आणि आपल्याला माहिती की रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह ऍटम मध्ये सतत रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह डीके प्रोसेस म्हणजे रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह मूलद्रव्यांचा ऱ्हास होण्याची प्रक्रिया, डीके म्हणजे ऱ्हास होण्याची प्रक्रिया ही सतत चालू असते. आणि ड्यू टू दॅट रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्ह डीके the number of molecules of the carbon 14 get decreases. And then म्हणजे जेव्हा आपण त्या फॉसिल्सचा कार्बन डेटिंग करू तेव्हा या दोन्हींचं कार्बन 14चं कार्बन 12शी असलेलं प्रमाण हे बदललेलं असतं, जे निसर्गातील प्रमाणाबरोबर नसतं. मग ते किती कमी झालेलं आहे त्याच्यावरून कार्बन 14चे अणु किती कमी झालेले आहेत त्या शरीरातले, मग तेवढे कमी होण्यासाठी किती वर्षाचा कालावधी लागतो, रेडिओ ऍक्टिव्हिटी होण्यासाठी किती वर्षाचा कालावधी लागतो हे निश्चित करता येतं. आणि त्याच्यावरून ते संबंधित फॉसिल हे कोणते आजपासून किती वर्षापूर्वीच अस्तित्वात आहे हे आपल्याला निश्चित करता येतं. ही जी प्रणाली आहे याला कार्बन डेटिंग प्रणाली असं म्हणायचं. तर या पद्धतीने मृत अवशेषाचं हे आपल्याला वय काढता येतं आणि त्या प्रकारचा प्राणी कोणत्या कालावधीमध्ये पृथ्वीवर अस्तित्वात होता हे आपल्याला सांगता येतं. First we write about what is the carbon dating method. Now see here, the time passed since the death, the time passed since the death, time passed since the death of living organism, time passed since the death of living organism, since the death of living organism can be calculated by measuring can be calculated by measuring the radioactivity of carbon-14 radioactivity of carbon-14 and radioactivity of carbon-14 and ratio of carbon-14 to carbon-12, ratio of carbon-14 to carbon-12 present in carbon-14 to carbon-12 present in their body. Present in carbon in their body is a carbon dating method. The time passed since the death of living organism can be calculated by the measuring the radioactivity of carbon 14, not 12, radioactivity of carbon 14 and ratio of carbon 14 to the carbon 12 present in their body. It is the carbon dating method. With the help of that carbon dating method, we will get information about that fossil, in which time that fossil or that animal is existing on the earth. And this type of carbon dating method is very, very useful in the paleontology and anthropology. It is used in the paleontology and anthropology for the determining the age of human fossils and manuscripts. So this type of method is very important. The carbon dating method is used in the paleontology. It is also used in the anthropology, and it is mostly used to determine the age of that fossils and of that age of that manuscript. When we determine the age of that fossil, at which period that the fossil of that living organism means that living organism exists on the earth, and due to the study of fossils, we will get the information about that the vertebrates which are present now on the earth, they are developed or they are evolved from the invertebrates which are present in millions of years. When we observe the figure, see here, it is a figure of in our book. It is the Paleozoic era, and in that era, the living organisms which are present at that time, the lowest part of the in earth we must find that fossils of that invertebrates like a snail and starfish. Then from that we find the fossils of the fishes, then amphibians, and then we will get the fossils of the reptiles, dinosaurs, and at the upper part of our earth we will get the fossils of the vertebrates, mammals, birds, and so many vertebrates. It means that the fossils of mammals we does not found in the lowest part of our earth. It means that at that time that vertebrates or the mammals or the animals which are belonging to the vertebrata, they does not exist in that period. It means that they are evolved from the invertebrates. So in this way we will get the evidence for the evolution with the help of that fossil study.